Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Paranormal Karen, funny too. Paranormal Karen, she's so spooky. Oh, and did I mention she's funny too? Yeah, cha-cha-cha.
Hey everybody, welcome to Paranormal Karen. I am back with Monique Pliakos. Hi, I did it, right?
Oh, you got it.
I got to put it in my phone spelled phonetically because you're still home wrecker. Like literally. So anyone that goes through, if I died and they were going through my phone, they'd be like, who does she know that does home wrecking professionally?
It's like, whoa, that girl has a bad reputation. Stay away from her.
I know. She has her own phone number. You know, I think there was a girl on TikTok, and I think it was a fake, but it was so negative I blocked her, where she would just go after married men or somebody's boyfriend or something, and then get the call from the girlfriend, stay away. Or it was just, I think it was acted, but it was awful.
Yeah, a lot of stuff out there is fake. And it's done on purpose to get people like enraged or upset. And we're going to talk all about this today because when you're very emotional, it's so easy to go into hypnosis.
Ooh, I love it. Okay, so we're going to jump right in. So I'm so excited. I got to meet you in person in Northampton, and you gave me I have to say, I saw your dragons on Twitter, and I was like, those are gorgeous, and they are nothing compared to what they are in person. Oh,
thank you. I can't with the pictures. I can't do it justice with pictures.
The detail, and then what you told me about them. So take a minute and tell everybody about the dragon you made me.
So I did. So I asked Karen if I can make her a dragon because Karen does so much for me, which I don't think she even realizes, for all you listeners out there. And she's just probably, oh God, I feel like I'm going to cry now. One of the most incredible, amazing human beings I have ever been able to speak with and now have met.
Wow. Well, thank you. Woo.
No, you've done so much for me, Karen. Like you don't even know. And so I'm a giver. I love making things. And if I find something that fits a person, I want to get it for them. It's just how I am. I love to give it. And so I wanted to make Karen a special dragon, and I asked for her permission, and I did a reading to find out, like I had something that kept popping up in my head. And I think, a lot of people, like we all struggle with this. It's like, it, but it's like, I just need more confirmation. Mm-hmm. So I went to my dragon oracle deck and I pulled cards. And for you, Karen, I got the gold and silver violet flame dragon. And this dragon, it's basically the colors that were popping up in my head. It was like purple and gold and silver. And so I was like, okay, this is a sign, like this is it. And so I went outside. So when I make Organite, I have to get like kind of in a meditative state. I like cleanse myself. I'll talk to the trees. I'm barefoot. My feet are in the ground. I have to be grounded. And I open my crown to source and I just ask to guide me. Mm. And so I don't know exactly what crystals I'm using. I just have an idea of kind of what I want to do. So it just all comes to me. And so for your dragon, I got lepidolite for the chest, rainbow moonstone to go along the spine, amethyst to go in the wings, pyrite for the head, fire opal for the tongue, and then for the eye, what did I put in the eye for yours?
It's right
I know it, and then it's right at the tip of my tongue. Let me see. It was not bloodstone. It was turquoise.
Yes.
Turquoise for the eye. And
I've just been reading about turquoise before you gave that to me.
Oh, wow. Yes. So again, it was just, I was told, basically I was like given the information, like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so I made this dragon for you and I used brass. I usually use copper, but I used brass because it had more of that gold look to it. So I used brass shavings in that. But yeah, I like to use pointed quartz, clear quartz, and I wrap it in copper. copper wire. There's a lot of work that goes in. So
unbelievable.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah, the craftsmanship is amazing. And for anybody that works with what's the, you know what
Organite?
I mean? No. What is the glue that holds it together? Resin. Anybody that works with resin can the layers and the time and the patience with this, it's just amazing. I think it's just so beautiful. Where can people see those?
tarotbymonique.com. You can go to shop. There's like little tabs, go to shop, and there's my organite there. And you can click if you want the dragon, just go to dragons. They're the full body dragons. And I put shungite in everything.
Yeah.
So.
And you got me a beautiful Mothman pillow, a little squeezy, a huggy Mothman, and a Mothman. That was so great seeing you in person. And just,
I know.
We all got home like at 1 a.m. because we couldn't stop talking.
You and I could seriously talk forever.
I know that, and it was all so fun. So thank you for all of that. And folks, I am not kidding. Check out the dragons at Tarot by Monique, correct? It'll be in the show notes. Okay.
Yeah, and during the summer, because I make them outside, if you have a custom one you want, let me know, and I'll be happy to make it as long as it's within the season that I can do it.
Yeah, we don't want you sitting outside and grounding with frozen ground.
I've done that. I've done feet frozen in the ground. I've done it. It's not fun.
That sounds awful. And allergies are my voice, folks. If I sound funny, I'm not sick. It's weird. I got some good holistic medicine, though. I feel good. I just sound awful.
You got to get it out.
Yeah. So,
got to hack it up, get whatever out.
Yes, exactly. So I did a podcast for my Patreon that I posted as a bonus episode about cults. And by the time I got to the end, I started with the Nixium cult, which is for my Patreon, anyone that wants to join. One of the podcasts I do in there is called What's Going On in Utica, because there's so much upstate New York is so haunted. And I didn't realize, someone said to me, an awful lot of cults start in upstate New York, which is true. Scientology started here. Mormonism started here. If you call that a cult, I don't know. I hope that doesn't insult you if it's not. And one of the biggest cults of all time is Nixium. And I couldn't even cover, it's a bonus episode, folks. If you haven't heard it, you might want to go back and listen. I couldn't even cover all the layers of this in the thing. But by the end, there were so many things I had changed my mind about, because I was like, okay, where do they hook you in? Where do they get you? Where would they grab my ego? Where would they this? And by the end, I mentioned you quite a few times, because I was just like, these people are hypnotized, period.
Mm-hmm.
And
you nailed it.
Oh, well, thank you. Because I thought they were so, I don't know who said it, but somebody said the biggest connection between all these people, none of them were stupid. None of them were, slow or whatever you want to say. They were good people, and they were trusting people. And you can hear when they come out, when they get it, they suddenly get it. Like as though, what is it when you're hypnotizing somebody, you go down to zero and they come out. And so I contacted you, and I was like, the lady that was his right-hand man in the cult. She, in the beginning of something, she said, I was a part of, and she named a hypnosis group or school that was about mass hypnosis. So now, Monique, this type of hypnosis is a lot more than we think, isn't it?
This goes so deep and on so many levels. Like it's a meme of, I think it's like Charlie Day, and there's like a map and lines everywhere. It's like, that's how it is with this, because hypnosis has been going on for thousands of years. In India, a lot of performers will use mass hypnosis just for to make money for those like street acts. And what you're doing is you're getting people in a state where they trust what's coming to them. You make it believable. And basically you're tricking the mind to say what's real. So in India, they'll have somebody who will somehow be able to climb a rope up into the sky and disappear. And then body parts start dropping to the ground. They're put in a basket and the guy comes out of the basket.
Oh my God. That's an awful trick.
And multiple people are seeing this, but they're in a circle because they're willing. Hypnosis only works if you're willing.
Okay, that is a trick. Someone is hypnotizing people to see.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
So what's happening is you have to be willing. But I think what's really going on for these cults, you're unknowingly willing or something. So when you meet somebody and they're super charismatic, you start to like them. And you listen to what they say, and you can have all these red flags go off saying they're lying, something's off, something's not right. But you're so deep into their, I guess the best word is the charisma of it that they carry, that you're allowing that information to be looked over. You're allowing things to become suggestible to you. So think about relationships like that have domestic violence, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're in love with that person. And when the guy says, I won't hurt you again, and they believe it, it's because they want to believe it. Not necessarily because they really believe it, but because they want to believe it.
Mm-hmm. And they probably want, this is a really weird one, but this is the truth on so many things. It would be really hard to leave him. I'd have to move. I'd have to get rid of things. I have to explain literally that thinking. In anything, you want to make your life better? Well, not if I have to clean up my room, kind of thing, you know?
But it's hard because I was in a relationship where I was physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually abused. And I loved him. And I kept thinking I don't get it. Why does he hurt me? It doesn't make sense. And he'd say, I'm sorry. And it was I saw the good and I just allowed myself because I wanted to believe it.
Now, would you say that's hypnosis, that he hypnotized you unknowingly?
It's not necessarily hypnosis, but it's the suggestibility when you're willing. And to use that, to go back to mass hypnosis, you are hypnotized when you're watching movies, when you're watching commercials. Do you ever watch a show and somebody's eating Chinese food and all of a sudden you think, oh, I really want Chinese food. It's the power of suggestion. So with hypnotherapy, all you're doing is just suggesting things.
Wow.
You are in control 100%. So if I hypnotize you, just like we're talking now, I can say, raise your right hand, wave your hand. You can do that. And I'll say, stand on your head and spin around. You're going to be like, no, I'm not doing that. You are in control. It's just a matter of wanting. You know what I mean? You take that suggestibility in, but if you don't want to change something, you won't. So that's why using hypnotherapy, not hypnosis, but hypnotherapy for the therapeutic aspect, you have to be willing, you have to be open to it, you have to trust the information, and you have to be wanting it. You have to be willing to do the work to make a positive change for yourself. And a lot of times when these suggestions come in that make it seem like we don't have to do any work and we might suffer a little bit for it, but it just makes everything else easier. It's really easy for a lot of people to go with that.
So, in a couple of questions back I've never really had, I want to say I've never had that celebrity worship, or I've never, I guess when you're in show business, you more want to be a part of a group instead of, I don't know, maybe that is the same. But when people went crazy for Elvis or Marilyn Monroe, or that always went right over my head. I never got that worship for one person like that ever. Brad Pitt or whoever. I could go, that's a good looking guy, but I'm not going to cross the street because I want to meet him. But certain people can be taken in by that. Well, obviously the girls that were screaming at the Beatles and stuff like that, they're just hypnotized by the charisma, and they want this person that's music brings them happiness. They want more.
Think about music. What does it do? It invokes a feeling inside. And when you hypnotize somebody, I talk people I talk slowly, calmly. I get them to be very relaxed, but you can just get somebody to connect with a feeling and boom, they're hypnotized. They're in hypnosis. It's that simple.
This is kind of a shoot off, and I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory or not. It's so hard to tell with this part, the other stuff. Usually the ones you and I know right away, and then we watch them come true. But when they talk about the music industry and the satanic worship, there's a song by that Sam somebody, and they did it at the Emmys and everything was red and he was dressed like the devil. I don't know what it looked. If you're going to say somebody's doing a thing, it looked like it. But it was the music that I almost want to say the key that song is in bothers me. I didn't like the song. It didn't work for me before I even knew what it was talking about. And then on stage, it was just like a stripper club. And I was like, are we just pushing the limits now? And then I think there's that part where you go, yeah, they make it look like they're worshiping Satan so that everyone will talk about it. But do you think there's really something going on there?
Well, so I'm not super familiar with what you're like the specific incident you're speaking of, but a few different things on that topic. One, with hypnosis, there's certain things like tone, rhythmic patterns, certain things that help bring people into hypnosis easier. So, for example, when I speak, I have almost like slightly sing-song, and I'll do like rhythmic patterns like deeper, down, down, all the way around the waist, all the way around the waist, down, down, down. So it's that rhythmic pattern that really kind of helps bring you into it. So if somebody is doing something like that, like, yeah, I mean, music is the great way to hypnotize somebody. I also think you can go in both ways. A lot of times the stuff being put out there now is just to distract people. You know, think about all the stuff that goes on that we don't realize because we're too busy fighting with each other. We're too busy arguing. And then on the other hand, there's that soft disclosure theory that they're telling you exactly what they're doing, but are you choosing to believe it or not? So there's all different ways. I don't know for sure. I've just kind of removed myself from it all. I know it's all bullshit, so I'm not going to fall into it. Like, you're not going to bait me to fight people. You're not going to bait me to get upset and trigger my emotions. Like, I'm over it. I'm done, you know? So that's, you know, because I've learned that in wrestling, there's a word called a work. Work means to be fake. And it's like, it's all a work. You know, it's just done to get you riled up, to get you to believe it. They want you to believe it, though it's not true.
And do you think, as let's say we're saying, you know, obviously, and I think I sent you this article. I don't know if I did. I'll bring it up later about there is a patent out there that Bill Gates has about how much screens flicker to keep you engaged. Okay. Yes. All right. Yep. Let's take a break and then we'll pick that right up right there. Hang on, folks. We'll be right back with Mind Control with Monique. MedicallySpeaking.com is a prophetic shop that focuses on your inner alchemical transmutation. And I needed an alchemical transmutation to say alchemical transmutation. See, Toria, you did it. When you're looking for activations to change your aura, wisdom and insight to heal your past, and alchemy to live your highest vibrancy, you will most certainly enjoy the array of offerings you will find at hermeticallyspeaking.com. Created through the teaching of the Hermetics, Toria, who's been on my podcast many times, provides personalized guidance that caters a feast specifically from the higher realms to you. You'll leave each session feeling empowered and loved, having gained ancient knowledge for your soul's nourishment and growth. Believe me, I know. I've worked with Toria and she is terrific. Everything you need is within you. So come remember, activate, and expand your knowing at hermeticallyspeaking.com. Okay, so and you know, that's an interesting, it's the first theory that you said. I really despise Bill Gates, but it's almost like he's a cartoon villain now. Like he has, it's clearly,
I think he's not the mastermind. I think he's just a kind of prop, a scarecrow, if you will, to be put up to get people against. one of the things I wanted to bring up is like when we talk about brainwashing and programming, you know the saying, if you say something enough, it becomes true.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's correct, because in general, humans are prone to accept information upon repetition. We learn through repetition. So if somebody's only getting one side of information, over time, if they're not getting any other information against it or not enough, they're going to start to accept that. So think about the media. The media is owned by 6 major companies. It's like Time Warner, News Corp, National Amusements, NBC, Universal, Comcast, Disney. And the majority of those are also owned by Vanguard and BlackRock.
BlackRock.
So when you see what's being put out on the news every day is the same thing over and over, and they keep repeating a narrative. Think of how many trust the news. They watch the news, and that's where they get their information from. Even the stuff that gets on social media is all just a regurgitated version of everything.
Yeah, the Twitter files. The Twitter files. Yeah.
They put it in your face enough where you start to believe it's true. You can have the red flags going up saying, this isn't right. But it's thrown in your face so much. What else are you going to believe?
Mm-hmm.
And it makes people react in a way that anything opposite of that or different from that, they're not going to want to take that in. They're going to either want to mock it, they feel uncomfortable by it. So it's because it's like, well, this is what I've been bombarded with. That's part of programming. And think about like MK Ultra.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you all about that. You know, it's funny too, because there's a guy that, a German guy that did a thing on he didn't call it mass hypnosis, but he was saying how when people get all this information and they believe it, they also start to, if they are lonely, he talked about if someone is lonely and they start to identify with this group that is, I'm trying to think of a good example, because he was talking about how, well, I'm not going to go there because people will freak out. But he was saying how when people are lonely and then they can attach to an idea, and then that idea is attached to a group, they feel a part of something and they feel like their loneliness now has almost a point, like it's now pointed at this problem. And and he was saying how they also start to believe it's their duty to get rid of that problem. So if they are ridiculing you, or they are being mean to you or doing horrible things to you, they believe they're doing it for the right reason.
Yes. And I mean, think about it. How often, like, nobody wants to be wrong.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to be, how embarrassing is that to be wrong? But it's about triggering an emotion. And you have an emotion, you feel a certain way, you find someone or a group that makes you feel a different emotion. And it goes back to beliefs. And, people die over beliefs. And it's like, I know the saying, if you believe in nothing, you'll fall for everything. But you also have to have some bend, because if you have a belief, let's say in like a religion that says it's okay to kill people who don't follow that religion, yet they also say thou shalt not kill. That's a little hypocritical. Let's try to just be logical and take a step back and look at things. I think a lot of what we've been told has been manipulated over years to get us to think certain ways and act certain ways. And a lot of it is because they trigger these feelings and emotions, and they make people feel like they belong. I've told you, Karen, for so long, I felt like I never fit in. I always felt like there was everyone else kind of like in front of me in a group, and I was on the outside, and there was this invisible barrier. I couldn't get through. No matter how hard I tried to belong, I just couldn't. There are a lot of people who feel that way.
Yeah.
I just, there were times where it's like I lowered my vibration to be with people who quote unquote accepted me as friends, but they weren't really my friends. I wasn't happy with them. They were, low vibrational, not good people. But I didn't want to be alone. I'm a young kid and I didn't want to be alone. And we all have that weakness. And some people are a lot stronger than others. Some people learn from it and they grow. But there are some people who say, I'm just going to go because this is my group and this is where I am. And for whatever reason, it's too hard to find something better. or they don't know how to find something better. So they do things and they believe things because, again, they want to believe it.
You know, since we had that talk, I've been listening because I used to very much enjoy talk radio. And I do like it to hit the sleep button. I just found it here in New York. I kind of had all the stations I liked in Los Angeles. And there's somebody that comes on before the show I kind of like, and I'll hit sleep just because there's a little background noise. But there was a man, and I now I can recognize it. He was talking about the evil of having a surrogate mother, and it was all whatever, because Khloe Kardashian says, I don't know. So in other words, it's this absurd topic where he has decided what's evil, and his monotone voice went through all the problems with women and this, and why, they have surrogate mothers because they're lazy, all this long thing, to where I finally got up and I was like, I can't listen. Who is this? What is going on? And you think about somebody who's lonely, and a guy maybe or a woman that dislikes women. And I thought, he's doing exactly what you said.
Well, and that's one of two things. Either he's projecting his traumas onto other people, or he's doing it to cause a distraction to get people riled up.
Yes. I believe it was a little of both. But I don't know who this was, and I got rid of it pretty quick. But when I started listening to the tone of his voice and how he was Mr. Serious, and these are facts, and I was like, you can see a lonely person with a radio pulling this in and adopting these attitudes.
Absolutely. And there's something else I want to mention too with all of this. I want people to know that, and please don't take this to misuse it, but when somebody is in shock or a severe state of trauma, they are more easily susceptible to suggestion, meaning they can be hypnotized easier. So for example, the best example I can think of is there's a car accident. You witness a car accident, somebody's trapped inside, you get out of your car, and the person's bleeding. They're gushing blood, from their abdomen or something. They're in shock. And if you say, you're okay, actually, you're bleeding, but you know what? It's slowing down. Oh, look, the bleeding's starting to stop. And you get them to believe, it's not that bad and you're okay. And you can convince them. And there have been instances where something like that happened, they actually stop bleeding.
Wow.
Because their mind is believing it. It's so suggestible that their physical body starts to react to it. Now, if you have a paramedic come up and say, wow, that's a lot of blood, it'll take them right out of it. But that is how powerful our mind is. And then it just makes me think about the MK Ultra, where they're using sleep deprivation. They're putting people in this emotional trauma to suggest things. There were all these different ways. And it's I remember you used to talk about MK Ultra, and they'd be like, oh, get your tinfoil hat out, But they came out, the government admitted it,
And give everybody a quick background on MK Ultra.
So really, really quick, just MK Ultra was a program, I believe it was the CIA, where they took people and they basically hypnotized them to do what they wanted. And it was called a sleeper, where they weren't even aware of it. And what's really messed up is that there are some hypnotherapists out there who will when they hypnotize somebody, they'll put a block in where they say, and I'm the only one who can hypnotize you. And if anyone else tries to hypnotize you, it won't work.
Wow.
And yeah, but that's the kind of that's messed up. I don't personally know anyone who's done it, but my mentor did. And he and his colleagues would have to work with people like that very a lot to try to get a backdoor way in to break that lock. But that's
Sorry
what they
about
do.
The truck, everyone. It wasn't a demon. It was a truck. Okay. Yeah. That's crazy.
So yeah. So when you're thinking about it, the government essentially is programming people's minds using different ways to hypnotize people, to suggest, to program to do what they want, to do their bidding without these people even realizing it.
I really wonder how many of the shooters that is. And I'm sure some are just, I don't know. I'm sure there's just crazy people out there that would do that. But I think when you have a high school kid or somebody like that goes back and shoots up his school, I don't feel like
there's influence coming from somewhere.
There has to be, because I think that's against human nature to want to kill everybody in that group. Now, I've been mad before where, and revenge isn't anyone dead. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. So somebody, and if it is an ex-military person, that's who they try everything on. I used to date a guy that was a soldier in Afghanistan, and he was like, you can't believe how many shots. I don't know what they put in us, because you got to get all these, all kinds of vaccines. He goes, I don't know. I've had hundreds of things put in me. And So I think there's an outer influence, and it's not just video games or something. I think that helps.
No.
But,
there's programming. Have you ever watched the movie Josie and the Pussycats with Tara Reid and Rachel Lee Cook and I'm blanking on the other person's name. I'm so bad. I'm like, there's a movie and there's a lot of people in it. And my husband's always like,
I've seen that
yes,
one, yeah.
That's usually how it works. There's a movie with people in it. Rosario Dawson. So basically, remember the old like comic and cartoon Josie and the Pussycats?
I just ordered a shirt with them on it. Why? I don't know.
Oh my gosh. Because we were talking about this today and you were just mentally ready for it. So in the movie, they're making fun of the programming that people get through music, through advertising. So there's a band called Du Jour, and they're basically like, wait a minute, did you hear that in this track? And there's like programming, like, the new color is red. Red is the hottest color. And it's programming these people to believe like what they watch and what they hear is programming them to, buy stuff, to consume. It's such a funny movie, but it's also so true because we are so susceptible to these little bits of programming that come our way and we don't even realize it. It's like you have to be so self-aware to catch that when it's happening.
It could be, would that even be like someone who doesn't like the Kardashians, but yet wants to fit in or wants to be thought of glamorous, may start buying the same clothes they have?
Well, yeah. I mean, what we were talking about before, like the wanting to fit in and changing yourself and where it's coming from, like idolization, how, people go crazy for Elvis. Either it's because you're in a sense seduced by their charisma, where you just want to, like, some people just have this energy you want to be around. Like you just might want to have a feeling you're drawn to them for some reason. Some people it's sexual. Some people it's just the talent or whatever. They want to maybe try to get some of that somehow, There's all these different reasons, but a lot of people, I heard that, Khloe Kardashian, that's one of their names, right? Khloe, I think. Like she uses this moisturizer and look at her skin. And, people will do it. And, so when we were driving home from your show a few nights ago, we actually, it's so funny. Alex and I were having the conversation about idolization and how like people, how like people, famous people, celebrities or whatever, they'll do commercials for stuff. And then like somebody will say, oh, so-and-so uses this exact thing. So they want to use it. I was just thinking about randomly, like Gwen Stefani did like a commercial for some computer and it was referenced in The Office where they got a computer and they're like, Gwen Stefani uses the same computer. And then I was saying, but it's funny because apparently Gwen Stefani, when she found out her husband was cheating on her because they had iPhones. And when you have like iPhone products, you can set it up on your computer and you can see text messages coming through. And she was on the computer and the text messages started coming through and she saw them. And it's just like people are paid to sell you stuff.
Oh, in other words, that wasn't the computer she wasn't
it wasn't the one she was hawking before. Got it. Like, oh, this is what I use. People are paid. So when you see celebrities like endorsing something, 99.9% of the time they're being paid to do it, whether they really like it or not. Some people don't care. You pay me, I'll say whatever you want.
Yes.
And so again, but you believe it and you put it in your head. You put the suggestion in your head that whatever that thing is good because you're open to that person, be it their charisma, their looks, their status, whatever it is that attracts you to them.
Being an animal rights person, I hate L'Oreal and Neutrogena because they're the biggest abusers. And I always see that I don't care for Jennifer Garner either. And she is, I always think you wouldn't ask that before you. And apparently she wouldn't. Or the other one for L'Oreal, the actress that's really good, Juliana Moore.
Oh, there's...
and you know they don't use any of those products, and yet also, then they put it with 4 out of 5 estheticians. No, it's all a lie.
Yeah, you know what they say, money talks.
Yes. So, and I'm sorry I cut you off there because it was. So we get that kind of subtlety, and also now you've made a connection. You've made a connection. I know Neutrogena because I know Jennifer Garner, and so we're all connected. Okay.
Yep. I loved her in, 13 going on 30. I think she was in that. Like, whatever. Like, people develop connections to other people because we all want to belong. We all want to feel connected. It's human nature. And so that is where it's preyed upon. People are preyed upon their vulnerabilities. Think about Disney. Think about like Disney movies, like when I was growing up as a kid in the 80s, why was it almost every Disney movie something traumatic happened? Bambi's mom got killed.
It's always the mother. They had a thing in the contracts. It always had to be the mother. The mother always had to be killed early. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And so it's like these things happen. And what happens to a young child? That child becomes traumatized. I remember when The Lion King came out. And I think I was like in 8th grade, and I got a free ticket with my friend from our orthodontist to go see it. We were bawling our eyes out when the dad got killed. I was like bawling. And the guy, there's an adult male behind us who was laughing at us. But I was just the thought of somebody's father being killed in front of you, because we all relate to that pain, even though we haven't experienced it. But what it's doing is it's opening you up. It's traumatizing you, and it's opening you up to suggestibility. And that's where you start seeing, like the things, how they have like, the hidden penises and things like that in the movie. And it's like, whether that's really true or not, it does open people up to suggestibility. Now, you could say Disney is doing that to show people you can be strong and you can overcome these obstacles in life, no matter how bad it is. But you could also say there's something on a very, very way beneath the surface level that's programming you for something else. Wow. I'm not going to take a side on either way. I'm just giving the information that's there.
Yeah. Well, after we had that talk that night, you do see it everywhere. So when we go back to the guy in India, that body parts start falling and then he jumps out of the basket. So if everybody's standing in a circle and watching that, and everybody's like, oh, this is going to be fun. What is it? It's a magic trick. And one person in there is like, I don't feel like doing this. I want to go somewhere else. That person does not see the same trick.
No. So what it is they'll have people who want to witness it come into a circled area. Like, you stay in here, everyone else stay back. And only these people are going to be able to watch it. Sometimes what they'll do is pull one person forward from the group to witness a certain part, something like that. So what they're doing is there might be like somebody pounding a drum in the background, rhythmic pattern, beats, helping you go in. And then they're talking to you and they're saying something, and it's catching your attention, because when we hypnotize, we're making your conscious mind busy. And so you might be aware of things, but you're also open to suggestion. And that's another reason when I do hypnotherapy, I can do scripts to quit smoking and stuff like that. But I like doing the suggestion where it's not coming from me, it's coming from you. And that's the way I like to do hypnotherapy. I'm not trying to suggest things to you. You're getting that information from yourself and suggesting it to yourself. So, these magicians are basically using rhythmic pattern with beats, with speaking. they have chanting going on. People are chanting in the background. It all lures you in and you're listening to it and you're starting to believe it. And they're telling you like, oh, he's disappearing. And he's disappearing because you are in hypnosis. You are believing it and you want to believe it.
Okay, that's a perfect place. Let's take a break and we'll be right back. Hold on, everybody.
Incoming transmission.
Greetings, intergalactic campers. We are here to notify you of an auspicious cosmic event occurring at Starstruck Farm, Lebanon, Tennessee, August 17th to 20th of Earth Year 2023. Humans have labeled this event Hot Alien Summer Camp, and forces across the multiverse are confirmed to be an unparalleled community convergence phenomenon. Expect to experience sound baths, energetic exchanges, metaphysical vendors and practitioners, yoga, live music, Reiki, and comedy performances by Karen Rontowski and Ryan Singer, and most importantly, restful, enriching connection with your fellow aliens. Hot Alien Summer Camp, where cosmic forces align for an unforgettable adventure. Go to hotaliensummercamp.com to book your tickets and let the magic unfold.
Transmission complete.
So,
Yay.
a couple of questions. So, because we were talking about some of your techniques, which I love, and I know you, maybe you have some stories you tell, so maybe you can't, because Dolores Cannon is made a comeback now from the grave, or her videotapes have. So, a couple of things too, like, so I want to get back to the drumming, also the drumming and the chanting, but so I have had a lot of, so I was saying to you, I want a hypnosis tape. And we were talking about the difference of, do I do it live with you or do I do it on tape? Because I have trouble if I know someone or I get distracted. I kind of want to say, what is the enemy of hypnosis?
Not believing, not trusting. So anytime I hypnotize someone, I say, are you ready and willing to be hypnotized? And I have to wait. If someone goes, I think so, I'll say, nope, I'm going to wait till you're ready. We don't start until you're ready. And with that too, I tell people you have to trust the information, because what happens, and I'll share with people, the first time I got hypnotized, I kept thinking, am I actually hypnotized? Am I doing this right? I don't think I'm doing this right. And I kept having to swallow, because when you salivate a lot, that's a sign of you're in hypnosis.
Oh.
And I kept salivating, and I'm like, my teacher's going to know I'm not hypnotized, because like I'm totally aware and I'm thinking. And then the next thing I know is like, oh wait, he's talking. I should pay attention. So you can have monkey mind. And the point is, as long as like you go with it and you're open to it, because there's different levels of awareness. You can be like super aware and still be in hypnosis. You can come up just enough. You can be right at that top layer where it's like, I don't even think I'm hypnotized, but you are. And then you can be so deep down. It's called somnambulism, where you're basically sleeping.
I love that one.
Information's going in, but you don't even know. You're just like, I'm out of it. So there are different levels of awareness that go in with your brain. Like, so there's different, so there's beta, alpha, theta, and delta for your brainwave level. So like beta is, I'm awake, I'm aware. And you go down to alpha, which is where you start getting very relaxed, almost like meditation. Theta is like where like, we start to really get really deep, borderline sleep, and delta is sleep. So we want people kind of in alpha theta for their brain waves to be open, to be getting information or taking in information. And so it's about kind of like knowing how people are in that state too, because when somebody's hypnotized, they exhibit certain signs. So like I look for things like when your eyes are closed, visual people, their eyes will move. So I'm looking at the eye movement behind the eyes. I'm looking at the breathing. I'm looking at like the body posture, the facial posture and expressions. There's all these different things. But I also have my own thing where I get into a meditative state and I can kind of feel it. Like I just know it. I feel it. And so that's kind of ways that people can take advantage. And when you think about like mentalists, they get that too. And they know human predictability. So it's like, that's how they take advantage. If they're looking at your physical cues, your eye movement, your body posture, all those different things. So there's so many ways that we as people can be hypnotized without even knowing it. So you say, I don't think I can because I know you. Well, you absolutely can. It's my job to find a way that works for you. And I tell people, if I'm saying, imagine yourself in a beautiful field and it's a warm day with a cool breeze and feel the grass beneath your feet. And if that's not working for you, you don't have to do that. When I get hypnotized, I imagine I'm in this black void and I'm just free falling down in the void. And then sometimes, sometimes there's a dragon and I'll be riding the dragon down and then I'll be like on the dragon's snout and I jump off of it and dive down, like super deep down. And then like the dragon will come up and catch me and we go down and stuff because I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'll do what I want to do. And this works for me to go into hypnosis. So that's what I'm going to do.
Now, and could it work the other way too? That because I know you, I get hypnotized faster?
It could, because if you trust me, you trust me and like this will work. Again, our minds are so powerful. If you go into something saying it's not going to work, well, guess what? It's not going to work.
Right.
You've already made up your mind. That's like, for tarot readings, when we do tarot readings and somebody comes in and says, well, nobody can read me. I've done this many times and not anyone can read me and I'm unreadable. Well, of course you're unreadable because you're saying you're putting that wall up.
And why are you here?
Yes, like exactly. But, I've had clients come to me and say, I don't know if I can be hypnotized. And I send my clients before their appointment practice audio. So what it is, it's like less than 15 minutes and it's me talking, bringing them into hypnosis, going to a safe place, somewhere beautiful, calm, relaxing, safe and secure, and then coming out of hypnosis. And the more you go into hypnosis, the easier it is to be hypnotized after that.
I love that.
So you could do it like, listen to that 10 times in a row, and that's going to be that much easier to go in when we work together. So, and some things that we do can be harder. I did a session last weekend with a woman who's pregnant and the baby was breech. And I thought, why don't we talk to the baby? Let's find out. Can she move? Or is there a reason why she's breech? And so I brought her into hypnosis and, we did some stuff. We did some grounding work and everything beforehand. And, I said, and your daughter is going to appear to you. She might be a form of energy or light, or as a baby, a child, or an adult. However she appears, that's what's right for you. And my client said she's a baby. And I was like, okay. And she had a hard time communicating with her daughter. And I actually had her call in her ancestors, and her meme came forward, and and it was so beautiful because the three women were there together. It was like grandmother with the granddaughter and then the great granddaughter, and so they all came together, and then the information started coming. And I put in some triggers for that where I said, and it has to be both of you want this, both mother and baby, but do you want to have a special gift that whether you touch your stomach or when the baby is born, you physically touch her, you send her your love and you can feel her love being sent back to you? And they both said yes. And then I upped it and I said, do you also want to add the intuition so you can know when things are fine, when things are okay, or when to worry, so you can communicate with each other, through your intuition? And she said yes. And so she had this beautiful experience, and she wasn't due for like another 2 weeks. And then 2 days later, she had the baby, and she kept saying, I think it's because we connected. I wanted to instill a bond between mother and baby. And she was like, I really think the baby was just ready now because I made that bond. And so we can do so much with our minds. Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, we are so capable. It's just finding a way that works for somebody.
Now, there was this book written called The Pickup Artist. And it was by this kind of unattractive man that slept with so many women. And it was to teach men how to trick women into sleeping with them. And it was, I think I heard a little of it and I was kind of like, this is too dark for me. And part of it was to be like, if there was a group of women, be nice to all of them except the one you wanted to. And then you go over to that one and make her feel self-conscious. Your makeup is smeared over here or something. So that's sort of prepping someone.
It's manipulation. It's what you're doing. It's oh my God, I'm blanking on it. It's like where you want somebody to do the opposite. So like we do it with kids, like, fine, like you want the cookies, eat the cookies. I don't want the cookies. It's, you get them to do the opposite. And yes, that works with people because it's a matter of like, why aren't they being nice to me? And you feel like, okay, I'm getting attention, but I don't like the attention. And now I need to change that attention.
So then you want to please that person. You want that person to like you because now you think something's wrong with you. Interesting. So if, let's say, we're in a situation and we feel like someone is doing this, whether they know it or not, do you think a lot of people know this information or a lot of people do it unknowingly, like they just are manipulative people that learned this works?
I feel like we all have a gut feeling inside what's right and what's wrong. And I think people who do that, they've kind of like worn out the battery on the red light that comes up like, hey, this isn't right. It's like, yeah, I don't care. I'm going to do it. So you have people who just don't care. Maybe that's because that's what they were taught, or they figured out they think that's the only way that's going to work. And then you have the people who know it's wrong, and it's like, I don't care because I'm a total sociopath, like there's all kinds of people out there. And I think everyone has their own reason as to why they're doing the things that they do. And that's why, like, I always say, like, I can't judge because, like, I don't know the traumas somebody's been through. I don't know what they've been through in their life.
Right.
And trauma is trauma. So, like, your trauma and my trauma, somebody could look at my trauma and say, oh my God, that's way worse than yours, for example. But then again, it's like, but it's still trauma to you because that's how your life was. And, it goes back to the feelings and emotions inside and what happens mentally and physically and emotionally.
Do you know anything about binaural beats?
Yes. So we learned about that when I was learning hypnosis. We didn't get too deep into it, but I don't know why, but I just wasn't interested in it. It's so weird. I was just like, I don't really care about this topic. Maybe because I was so into like just hypnosis itself. But basically we learned about like the sounds and the beats and things like that. There are some people who did like to utilize that, but I don't know. It didn't really intrigue me, I guess.
But it does, it's one of those things where I have a certain set of them I like because usually the music's not very good. But I found one that is somewhat pleasing. And so it's just sort of activating both sides of the brain. Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're just kind of like getting like the triggers, so to speak, of like getting it going.
It's interesting too, because that seems like the perfect place to slide something in.
Yeah. Think about like subliminals.
Yes. So when shamans and people do drumming, that is to get you in that sort of hypnosis frequency.
Yeah. So like when you hear like a pattern, like bum 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 bum, like you get into that rhythmic pattern, and then you start kind of like, you get into it. And again, it's opening up these pathways in your mind to say like, oh, yes, I'm a little more open.
Or interesting enough, in movies, those same things can be used to create fear.
Oh, yeah, because it's all about the trigger you're implanting. What are you trying to implant in that suggestion? It can be used for good. It can be used for not so good.
When say I was somewhere and I feel like, oh, I can hear this person has changed his voice. He's doing all these things. He's trying to hypnotize me, which probably a lot of serial killers did. and I suddenly become aware. If I'm aware of it, does it stop there, or do I mentally have to say no?
Once you're aware, you still have to say the like, F this. I'm not, no. You know, like you have to like say no. Like it's like, I do not consent to this. You need to be firm because it's easy to get pulled back in. But like usually once like you're like, oh, wait a minute, I see what's going on here. That's enough. But I always say instill it. Like if you don't consent to something, say it. I don't consent to this. Even if it's just mentally like in your mind, say it. I do not consent to this. Because what that's doing is that's giving yourself that power. And you know, you're saying, no, not going to happen. You're more aware. And again, petition, making it aware in your mind, you are in control. Your mind, more powerful than you realize, and you can control it. You are in control of it. But what happens is we give that power to other people willingly. We're willing, but we just don't realize it in the front of our mind. It's more in our subconscious.
Yeah, that's where you can get a placebo effect.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. And at the end of the day, you know what? It worked. So what does it matter? That's like when I do past life regression. People will say, is it really a past life? Or is it just something made up in their mind? And my answer is, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If it helped that person, that's what matters.
I love it in readings when I get really wildly strange things and they confirm them, even if it's a past life thing or a, you know, and I think sometimes we read past lives that is actually current life, not wrong information, but information they needed put there. So now you are doing group hypnosis, right?
Yes. So I used to do it every so often. I like to offer group hypnosis sessions because it's literally a fraction of the price. So I charge $200 for a general practice session. And I think it's like $275 for a past life regression, just because those are usually longer. It can be a bit more work. But so what I like to do is offer certain kinds of hypnotherapy sessions as a group. So what I was explaining to you before, Karen, was when you do like an audio recording or a group session, I'm unable to really specify your specific needs to get you the results that you want because I have to make it general for everybody. And so that's kind of like, you might not, if you're having an experience in a group hypnotherapy session, I can't say, oh, wait a minute, go back and let's do this and tell me about this here. It's just we're kind of going along stages of where we're going in that session. So people can still have an experience, but it's not custom tailored to them specifically. So I offer it at a heavily discounted rate. So for the listeners, the next session I'll be offering is the Dragon Connection group hypnotherapy session on Saturday, August 19th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So the Dragon Connection is basically a chance for people to meet the dragons who are working with them, but they realize.
I love that.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. The people I've done this with have such a good and positive experience. They get to meet these dragons, they learn from them, and you get to learn how to communicate with them. So in the future, you get to feel their sense. You get to communicate with them. You get to call them. You learn exactly how to work with them and how to listen to them. So that's coming up. And then on Saturday, September 16th at 10 a.m., I'm doing a group inner child hypnotherapy session. I think everybody should do inner child work. It's so important. And like me personally, the first time I did inner child, I was bawling because I was holding so much guilt about things from my childhood. My inner child's like, it's okay. And it was such a weight lifted.
Wow.
Like, it was like forgiving myself. And it was so huge. And sometimes, like, even if you don't have trauma or anything, it's just cool, like playing with your inner child, going on an adventure, doing something that child wants to do and giving it to them. It's so important. So those are available if you go to my website, innerstandingshypnosis.com, and go to the group sessions tab. There's a whole list. There are QR codes you can scan or click the links. It's super easy to sign up.
Wow, that's awesome. Okay, tell everybody where to find tarot readings and all other stuff too.
So for tarot readings, organite, incense, candles, all that fun stuff, go to tarotbymonique.com.
Thank you, my friend. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you.
And I hope we all know, I think people are now going to become even more aware where they are being hypnotized.
I hope so, because that's the whole point of this, like this is what we want to do. Like we want to make people more aware. We are sovereign beings and we hold so much power. Don't give your power to somebody else. Use it for yourself.
That is correct. Monique Pliakos. How's that? I got it right now that you gave me the
You got it. Woo!
All right, my friend. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody. We will see you on the Patreon /Rontowski for tarot or extra Paranormal Karen episodes. Or maybe I'll see you at a show. Go to karenrontowski.com and sign up for my email or rontowski.com or paranormalkaren.com. I have yet to send out an email. I paid $20 a month for an email service. I've yet to send out an email, so I promise you I won't bombard you with anything. All right, everybody. Thanks to Mike at Una Rising Media. We'll see you next week. Paranormal Karen.